And hello, everybody. Welcome back to the cruise, the only podcast where you can enjoy the vanity of three people who barely know what they're even talking about. I am Vibrator, aka Jack, aka Haas F1 car. What am I? I really don't even know. And of course, alongside me here, we got two very sexy co-hosts. Skill, what up, my boy?
Oh, vibrators, stop it.
And we have this extremely ugly hunchback over here, Jayhawk. Jayhawk, what up?
Yo, it's me, TBG, or Jayhawk, or...
All right, now, homies. We got a lot to talk about.
We do. We do have a lot to talk about.
Indeed.
Because, well, first and foremost... Indubitably, yes. Well, first and foremost, we got four new NAL teams for the time being.
Well, first off, I just witnessed a commercial where a Domino's worker, performed improper working operations by throwing the box of pizza at the car window while it was closed. That guy does not know. I know! He was all like, he tossed it, he tried to throw it at the window. That could have taken the guy's head off. Very unsafe.
Well, I mean, it's either that or violate social distancing. So really, can you blame him?
Not really. I mean, there's either that, put it in his car, or throw it at the window. And you don't really want to violate social distancing. And just putting it in the car doesn't make quite much sense. So you got to throw it at the window and cause a mess. And get fired.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, so realistically, I don't blame them at all.
I don't either. Anyway, let's continue.
Yes. So homies, we got not one, not two, not three. We got four brand spanking new NAL teams.
Well, hold up, Vibrator. With the way the NAL is, we could get a new NAL team, within 2 to 3 business days.
Or 2 to 3 business minutes.
That's pretty quick. And I have seen no news on a new NAL team.
Well, the Jacksonville Sharks did welcome in one of the newest team to get announced, the Baltimore Lightning.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's go. Let's talk about let's talk about it in order. So, the first team, which was not the Tampa Bay Storm Target Toad, it is the Louisville Extreme. Now, what do you think about the Louisville Extreme? Vibrator.
Well, okay. So, unironically, I was kind of weirded out. My first reaction when I first saw that the Extreme were joining was that literally the last time I think the Extreme were, actually did anything in indoor football was, 2017 or so?
Well, they were the only NAL team not the only. They were the first one to... Yeah. They were founded in 2012. I just figured out today. But they... for the first team to say they weren't going to play. After the AAL, said, we're going to delay the season.
Yeah, they said nada, and then they just turned around and joined the NAL.
Yeah.
Upcoming season.
Now, granted, at the bare minimum when it comes to the Extreme, they do seem to have some sort of financial viability.
Yeah, they at least have some financial stability, unlike some teams that we're going to get into.
Yeah, so, they're playing out of Freedom Hall, and from what I can tell, they do have their ducks in a row. So, they're not going to be a good team. I don't think so. Just off the fact of who are you going to get to sign out of the Kentucky area, or just
they had a pretty good roster going into the 2019-2020 season.
True. But would you say it would be good at the NAL level?
Decent. I'd say it'd be a decent NAL team. Middle of the pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be okay.
Yeah. But they may lose some of that talent to, say, some other NAL teams, or maybe even an IFL team or two.
Yeah.
They're not going to be terrible, and honestly, I think that in the end of the day, they are a financially viable team. Mm-hmm. I am apprehensive though to see for what they are, because we haven't seen anything of them since 2018 or 2017.
Yeah.
I think they played Yeah.
What? You go, Vibrator.
Except for I think they played like maybe a game against the Enforcers last year. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think they filled in on the Enforcer schedule.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we move on to the next NAL team, fellas?
Oh, biggity boy, yes, we should.
All right. The second team to join is the Tampa Bay Tornadoes, based out of... Fuck, where do they play?
They play
Tallahassee.
No, they play out of like. Don't they play out of like the fairgrounds or something?
Yeah,
They play in the fairgrounds.
Arena
Florida State
football
Fair.
to the fairgrounds.
The fairgrounds, baby. Is there an arena in the fairgrounds, or is that outside?
No, it's an arena.
No, there is an arena. It's decent. It's like it has like 10K capacity.
Oh yeah, it does.
Although granted, knowing NAL, they'll never even reach half of that.
They probably only need a quarter. Half of that's 5K.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I mean, granted,
it's gonna look small.
None of the NAL teams ever post attendance figures for some reason.
For some reason.
Some reason being is that they're all pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think the one attendance figure that we've ever gotten from the NAL was
Wasn't it
Orlando. Yeah, and they only got like 2,500 people to show up.
Total or one per game?
It was that one game, but still, that's pathetic.
I mean, how much advertising did they do, and what game was it?
It may have been their first game. I can't remember off the top of my head. I just remember reading an article that at like one of the games they reported attendance for, it was like 2,000.
Oh, okay. And it probably just got worse from then on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if at like the midpoint they got as low as like probably like below 1,000 a couple games.
Yeah, they probably got below 1,000. And even last when people saw them, their play versus like Carolina or Jacksonville.
Yeah, I remember the last game they played at home. They were like inviting fans to like come into the lower bowl because they realized that it probably made them look bad to have that bowl so barren. Which, granted, I don't think they probably even policed it that well with who was in the lower bowl.
Yeah, they probably just like, oh, fuck, you have a ticket. Nothing we can do.
Yeah. But speaking of Florida, let's head back over to the Tampa Bay Tornadoes. Now, the Tornadoes were formed this past year. We're set to kick off.
Well, they were formed like a few years ago, but they like, because I remember I saw a video on.
I feel like when the Storm folded, they announced they were a team.
I think that may be it. Maybe like I think they may have done that.
Yeah. I mean, granted, like the point of their existence is to try and recapture the audience that was there for like the Tampa Bay Storm.
I mean, you have Target Toad.
Well, hey, the last year that the Storm existed, they weren't pulling bad attendance. They had I think they posted like high 9s, low 10,000s a game on average. Hold on, I'm actually gonna fact check myself.
It's better than Baltimore.
Yeah.
I mean, it did look pretty packed for the Arena Bowl. Where
that was in Philadelphia.
Oh. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, but I don't think Tampa's going to like the team as well. Doesn't have the Storm name. They're not playing.
They're not giving refunds.
They're not giving refunds. Targeted. They're not playing at Amali or Amali.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Target Toad will probably grill us after.
Because the Lightning would probably throw a fit about that.
Yeah.
Oh, if you're wondering who Target Toad is, I'll link his channel in the description.
Shout out to the boy. Actually, for reference, the average attendance at a Tampa Bay Storm game in 2017 was 9,668.
Okay.
Not bad. Better than Baltimore.
Yeah, and that was the only team they beat out.
Well, yeah.
But still, for AFL standards, it's pretty good.
Yeah. But back to the Tornadoes. How do you think the Tornadoes, I don't think they're going to do too good.
No.
See, I don't think we know anything about their roster. That's
we don't know anything about any of their rosters because I don't think they sell free agents till like late September.
Well, and they were a supposed AAL team, and they're joining the NAL. And I don't think that's going to fly well.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do real. I think they're going to have worse than New York.
Just like the flight, just like how I think the flight we're going to do this year. Not good.
The flight we're going to do decent. I feel like people are underselling the flight. The flight had Warren Smith, who I think was the MVP 2017.
Maybe, I can't remember.
Yeah, I think he was. Let's see. I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, and I mean, in general, when it comes to Tampa Bay, did they even sign anybody prior to the season?
They had I think they were a semi-pro team playing outdoors or something. I remember people.
That was the Louisville then.
Because no, I've seen people wearing Tornadoes unis or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I know they didn't sign anyone notable, but I don't remember
they
if they
didn't sign anyone notable.
So with them, sure, they're probably not gonna that amazingly. They'll probably be financially viable in some way. They're not gonna be as bad as the 2019 Orlando Predators, but they're gonna have some really hard games, especially against the likes of, say, Jacksonville, or even the new Predators, who have definitely seen an uptick in quality, or we're going to see an uptick in quality over the offseason.
New war on I-4.
Yep, except it's nowhere near as glamorous as it was before.
Yep.
So what's the next one, Albany?
He was the MVP 2017. Warren Smith was the 2017 MVP.
What a big brain move. Oh yeah. So speaking of the Predators, apparently they're bringing back another AFL team, as Albany. When was this? A few days ago?
Yeah, 2 or 3 days ago, and Albany was announced as an NAL expansion team. Yeah, we don't know the name yet, but it's been basically.
But the ownership group of the Orlando Predators, apparently has fared this pandemic pretty well financially, as they put out a lease at Times Union Center to field an arena football team in 2021. Now, granted,
the Empire owner decided not to join on with the other owners for Albany because he didn't know the financial hit, and I think it was something to do with the NL and IFL having beef or something.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it's kind of been what I've been saying since the AFL folds, that you're going to see the NAL and IFL start to kind of go at it, and now that the NAL has lost its main advantage it had over the IFL,
which was playing talent. Now they're going after the IFL in reports. They're taking shots at them now.
Yeah, in that Albany market, that was the one IFL Eastern market that I could tell they really wanted.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, would Albany have supported that team really? Would Albany support this team good? Because they didn't. I've heard they didn't support their AF2 team really good.
Yeah, but did you see the attendance they had for the Empire? That shit was crazy.
That shit was crazy. But remember, it's the AFL, not the AF.
Yeah,
the AF2 team didn't do so hot. I think it was the Conquest.
The Conquest, and I think briefly the Firebirds. Yeah, I mean, Albany certainly does have a very strong history with arena football. I don't think that's doubted by anybody.
No.
But I personally think that this new the something or others, as I call them, they're going to do pretty well, especially under a relatively stable ownership group. But they're not going to we're not going to see the scenes that we had at the at Arena Bowl 32.
Yeah.
oh man, Arena Bowl 32. That was a fun game to watch. Until we all found out it was the last AFL game that would ever be played. That was a Raffle moment. And well, last but not least, currently, this may be updated in 20 minutes. Who knows? We now have the Baltimore Lightning.
Yeah, the Baltimore Lightning, and that just makes the NA. That just takes down their credibility.
Yeah, that's just brought them down.
That they're just making markets. They're just bringing in teams just to try to catch up in the iPhone numbers because they know they won't be able to catch up in like talent.
Yeah, you see, they're focusing more on quantity over quality here. They're just hungry for more teams, and they'll basically bring in anyone.
If you open the checkbook, if the check cashes, I mean,
and even if it doesn't, I mean, can't really say anything about it.
Remember, I feel as if, like in the 2018 awards night, where like the NAL was like talking about expansion, and they said that you had to like put a startup fee of $100K. Whatever happened to that? Is that still going on, or did they do away with that?
Well, I mean, sorry. Didn't the guy who bought the who owns the Lightning, wasn't he the guy who bought the Brigade?
Yes,
stuff?
he HMG,
and apparently he's moving him to San Antonio, where he's wanted for car theft.
That's a different story.
That's a different story.
It's a different story, but a significantly funnier story. Which would also technically make him a guy who owns a team in multiple leagues.
Yeah. The thing to bring up is he going into the IFL to bring a team there or to get inside?
To spy.
Yeah, for the NAL.
I mean, both are very reasonable possibilities.
Yeah, but I mean, he bought the Brigade assets just to spy for a different league. If he was really going to do that, wouldn't he keep the Brigade in Baltimore because he spent a good money on it, and then?
Well, that would be too far out.
Then have an expansion team in the IFL.
Maybe. Well, I mean, like, what I'm trying to think here is that, like, say you can use all like the imagery and like all that stuff from the Brigade, right?
Yeah.
Like, say you can use like say their helmets and like some other, because I think their helmets are still in date.
Yeah, the helmets are fine. Jerseys, maybe not, because it's got like some Maryland stuff on it.
Yeah.
Like their Phenom Elite uniforms had the Maryland flag on the sleeves.
Well, that was just the stuff that they showed like in the images. I think they had the old uniforms there too.
They had the old uniforms, but the new one, the Phenom Elite ones, had the Maryland flag, so they couldn't really use those.
Yeah, I know about that with like the numbers. That those looked hideous. Because I mean, obviously you have the field and you have all that stuff, and then unless Will Hanna like has an extra field and all that stuff just sitting around, it's gonna be really hard to field like two teams in different leagues.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, the whole San Antonio Brigade thing's a lie.
And false.
Is totally possible.
Yeah, that completely. Yeah. But now Royal Farms.
Yeah.
Got a tenant now.
Hooray, now they'll barely be able to draw like 7,000 people again.
I feel like they'll do one year and just die.
Oh, yeah, they're going to die after a year. Guarantee it.
Out of all those teams we listed, Louisville has a shot.
Albany has a shot. Yeah, Louisville has a shot.
Tampa's bordering. And I think Baltimore is just going to be a one and done.
Yeah, I think Baltimore will be a one and done.
I say Louisville.
They even make this season.
I say Louisville because they're under new ownership, and that's why they joined. So maybe the ownership is structured. I can't say that for sure, but we'll see in the NAL. back at it again with uneven teams.
They're at 10.
Yeah.
They're at 9.
Yeah.
They're at 10.
They added in 4.
Well, Albany wasn't really confirmed by the league.
I mean,
they got a lease with the Times Union Center.
And it's from the Orlando Predators ownership group.
So it's basically confirmed.
This is the max in league history, right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is the most they've had in league history. That's not really a good thing, but
because the last time we were even close to this was 2017, and we all know how well that was.
They kick out a stable franchise in Massachusetts to bring in Baltimore and Tampa.
I don't think about this. The IFL's third year, or like third, fourth year, they had like 20 teams.
Yeah, well, that was because, in part, that was because the IFL was basically a giant amalgamation of
a few like folded leagues.
Oh, a few folded leagues, and they also picked up the scraps of say the NIFL and whatnot back in the late 2000s.
Yeah.
I guess we could talk about that shit.
Yeah, we can go into
for another episode.
Yeah, old IFL. Let's go in. I think we should do what our 2020 NAL predictions would have been. Like what we thought the season, what we thought the teams would have done in 2020.
Oh, absolutely.
Jayhawk, you want to go first?
I guess, yeah.
Remember, they were... Yeah, go.
I'd probably go with, I guess, the Sharks, just number one, I guess.
Okay.
And then probably West Virginia, too. Because if you think about it, West Virginia was an NAL team in the wrong league. And though I know they did really well in the AAL, that's because they were in the AAL, but I still think their organization's pretty good. Their roster is okay. Then probably maybe Carolina, I guess, and then Columbus, Orlando probably, then Jersey.
You forgot about the ass Pirates.
Oh, yeah. The Pirates would probably be... I'd actually put them before Carolina.
Okay. Vibrate, do you want to go or should I go?
I know you have some you have some rather spicy takes about how the 2020 NAL season would have gone, so I'll go up next.
Okay.
Number one for me would have easily had been West Virginia. Their talent was really fucking good this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, never mind. Of course, the obvious one to look at is Avril Nelson at quarterback. That dude would have easily taken West Virginia at least to the playoffs, if not the NAL Bowl. He was just fucking. He was a very great quarterback, and they had decent weapons around him. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I think West Virginia would have been an easy shoe-in for number one in the league.
Okay.
Number two, I would probably say Massachusetts. Massachusetts always, they've always been a team that's been right there, on the cusp, but they were never able to really take it to the next level. And I think this season really would have been the time they would have put it all together and really put out something greater. Third for me would have been, I would say Jacksonville third. Jacksonville's Jacksonville. I don't really think that we need to explain who they are to the NAL. However, they did seem like a weaker team this year than last year. It wasn't going to be as bad for them as say 2018, but it was going to be a good year for it was going to be a weak year for Jacksonville, or an off year, I guess you could say. Then fourth, I'm really bummed that we couldn't see the new Orlando Predators this year. They were a team that had some really good potential on their side. They brought in Rakeem Cato at quarterback. They had what was it, 4 or 5 good receivers or something?
5, I think.
Yeah.
I'll read them.
Orlando...
I'll read off the receivers if you want.
Sure, go ahead.
Let's see. Hold on, I gotta pull it up. Okay. Second. Orlando. Okay. Aaron Washa, BJ Bunn, Derek Macon, Desmond Epps, I think there was Michael Lyons. So those were not West Virginia, Orlando's receivers.
Yeah, so I think on the whole, Orlando was going to be a much improved team from last year. Now, granted, much improved for Orlando means that they just put together an actual football team. But for actual sake, they were looking to have a really good side this year. It's just a shame that they weren't able to put anything together.
Yeah.
Fifth would have probably been fifth I would have probably given to Columbus. Columbus, from what I understand, they've been really struggling on the financial side of things. And when a team is struggling, obviously they're never doing good.
Yeah.
They're never like putting on good performances week in and week out. When you're more concerned about whether or not your team is going to be able to make it to the next game, you're not exactly concerning yourself too much with like who you're going to be with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Columbus would have taken 5th. Jersey, I think Carolina, I think would have taken 6th in the league. And Jersey would have taken 7th, but it wouldn't be as bad as the typical last place team in the NAL. They would certainly be competitive week in and week out. They just wouldn't be able to really get those final few pieces together. I think on the whole, the NAL this year was a very strong league. But like, there were some teams that were just that much better than.
Yeah. So should we go into mine?
Sure.
Okay. So for number 1 for me, I would have also had West Virginia. Like, they had Arvell Nelson and Darius Prince, which number 2, I would have also had Massachusetts. I feel like Massachusetts would have also done really well that year. Number 3, I would have had Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, Columbus. At number 5, I would have had Jacksonville because while Jacksonville brought back Devin Wilson, they lost players like Aaron Bellazine, Jarman Fortson, Deron Neal, Seth Ellis, Nick Woodman, Marcus Smith, Cody Saul. And while they did get Darius Reynolds, I don't think he would have done that good. Like, he would have been good, but I don't think he would have been, like, all
amazing
first team All NAL, or maybe not even second team All NAL due to the amount of talent there was of receivers. For 6, I would have had Jersey over Carolina because Jersey had Warren Smith, and I feel like he better than Grant Russell, who Carolina had. And I would have had Carolina at 7th, but I also had it so that like they would have been competitive, but they wouldn't have had those pieces that would have gotten them the wins.
Yeah. Reasonable.
All right, what should we move on to next?
Well, there's always the bigger league of the two.
The IFL.
Yes. So, I guess I'll take the lead for this one.
All right.
For the IFL, for me, obviously, I think number one, it would have continued to be. Actually, no, I would have given it to Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls was, I mean, obviously they were who they were last year, reigning United Bowl champion, forever lording over all of us.
You bet.
Yes, of course. And there was no indication they were going to slow down this year. I think they retained pretty much most of their major talent.
Yeah.
And they were still going to look good this year, and I think they would have topped the league easily. Number two for me would have been the Arizona Rattlers. Same thing with the Storm. The Rattlers are that good. And again, they didn't lose anyone, I think. Third for me, now this is going to be a bit, well, I don't think it's that surprising that I would put the Spokane Shock at third, because as we all know, Spokane Shock are basically just an imported version of the Carolina Cobras.
Mm-hmm.
They bought, they signed a good chunk of their players, and they moved them to Spokane.
Yeah.
Didn't they even take Carolina's coach?
They took Billy back.
Oh, fuck yeah. And Carolina, damn good team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Spokane, in turn, would have turned that team into a really good IFL team.
Yeah,
they would have been. They would have done very well for themselves. Fourth would have been Tucson. Much like Spokane, Tucson took the off-season strategy of just stealing a good team. In this case, they basically took everyone from the Iowa Barnstormers and imported them over to Tucson.
They also got Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, from the New York Streets, basically the only good player the Streets have.
They had Rob Jones.
Yeah. Didn't they also have a good quarterback 1 or 2 weeks?
They have the Gray.
Yeah. So basically you slap that off on top of a already decent core players they had.
And the coach, Dixie Wooten.
Yeah, like Tucson would have honestly like if we had theoretical playoffs this year, they would have challenged the Rattlers or the Shock or the Storm of the Shock.
Yeah.
Like they would have posed a legitimate threat to those teams, and I wouldn't have been surprised if they had even made it a United Bowl appearance. Fifth for me. Now you see the IFL, once you get beyond the big boys, it kind of gets a little bit hazy,
Yeah, you don't really know how to do it.
Yeah. Well, fifth for me would have probably been Iowa. Even after they were scalped, they still had at least a decent enough team. They wouldn't have been amazing, but they would have been okay. Probably would have just gotten bounced by the Sugar Skulls or someone else.
Yeah.
Sixth for me would have been the Blizzard. The Blizzard, I mean, they weren't amazing. They weren't looking amazing, but I think they did have a relatively easy schedule. I didn't think they were going to be like world beaters or anything, but I certainly think that they would have been pretty good, or at least they would have looked really good until like they had to turn up against like Sioux Falls or Spokane, and just gotten absolutely fucking demolished in the playoffs. Seventh for me. Seventh would have been Quad City. Quad City had an okay team last year. By all accounts, their team was okay. Wasn't great. It was okay. And I think that's what they would have continued into this year. They would have basically been the IFL's mediocre football team, which granted, hey, every league needs a mediocre team sometimes. And that's who they were for the IFL. And eighth, and rounding out what I thought would have been the playoffs this year, Duke City. Now, of course, we all know the meme, Duke City, bitch. Haha, funny.
Ha 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 ha, Antonio Brown.
I mean, they did have Antonio Brown. You can't deny him that.
Can't.
Yeah. No, but, like, as an unironic thing, Duke City, they were head and shoulders above everybody else in CIF. Like, it wasn't even close, so it would have made sense for them to move up to the IFL, and I think they would have been a team, and they would have, like, I would have been surprised if they, like, were able to pull within 20 of the Rattlers or the Shock, and maybe even occasionally cause an upset. Then heading into ninth for me would have been Frisco. Frisco has really good coaching. Like, their coaching staff was, who was it? Clint Dolezal, and their offense coordinator was Dan Rodabaugh.
And I think their DB coach was James Romaine.
Huh. Yeah. Yes, but still, like, on the whole, they had a coaching staff that knew how to work the game of arena football. Now, granted, the IFL's rules are slightly different from what the AFL is, but I think the Fighters probably had one of the best coaching staffs in the IFL. Just they would not have been able to put things together, especially considering how quickly they had to be assembled. They would have been a fun team to watch. I think they would have been competitive, but they would not have, like, shocked the world.
Yeah.
And so then we get, of course, into basically the shambles league of the IFL. And coming in at 10th for me would have been the Strike Force. Now, the Strike Force, they obviously showed in the one game they did actually play this year that they had some potential. They had some decent drives against the Bucks, and they ended up winning the game. Obviously, they didn't get to play the rest of the season. And obviously, they were playing against a relatively weak Bismarck Bucks side.
Shock.
I know. What shock and all, I know. But on the whole, I think San Diego would have actually been okay this year. I think if they had gone, like, say if they went to go play, like, the Rattlers, the Sugar Skulls, they would have been, like, demolished.
Well, I don't think they played the Rattlers that year.
Well, if they had. Or no, wait, were they even scheduled to play the Rattlers?
I don't think so.
I know they were scheduled to play, like, some of the big shots in the IFL. Oh, I'm actually going to look this up real quick. But just on the whole, they were they had some potential. And I think, like, if they had kept it going, they could have actually been able to pull off what is basically the equivalent of a rebuild within the IFL, right?
Yeah.
In 11th, for the bottom three, I'm going to rattle off pretty quickly. 11th for me would have been Oakland. Oakland's good, or not good. They have Marshawn. Hooray. Who really cares? 12th would have been Bismarck. Literally, who plays for Bismarck?
Ken Van Huel.
Okay, cool.
He was on the Barnstormers.
Okay, what did he do?
He blocked.
Ooh.
He was an lineman. They also had Cody Barber.
Oh, yeah. But still, they weren't good. And 13th would have been Cedar Rapids. Cedar Rapids is the River Kings are basically just the abandoned IFL team.
They had James Harden. Anymore.
They do have James Harden.
They had a pretty good attendance.
The one game they played against Quad City, and they got fucking manhandled.
Well, it was close at the end.
Yeah, well, that's because Quad City basically was just on cruise control.
But Kevon Rudd said that they ran this bitch. How could they let up so many points? Kevon, why?
They lied.
I can't believe this.
Now I must turn it to you two as to who you think would have
I'll go next.
Horribly.
So number one for me would have been the Rattlers, 2 Storm, 3 Shock, 4 Sugar Skulls. Number 5, I would have had Green Bay. 6, Iowa. 7. Who else was there? Oh, Quad City. And then probably Duke City as well. Then we had Frisco, Oakland, San Diego, Bismarck, Cedar Rapids. That's my prediction.
And finally for you, Jayhawk?
Probably just the same because it's the there's 2 tiers and there's 3 tiers in the IFL.
There's
Bucks and then everyone, and then the Strike Force and everyone else in that order, top to bottom.
There's the Strike,
Bucks,
there's
River
the
King, Strike Force.
Then there's like some of the teams that could maybe play against the Strike Force. Then there are the teams that would have been absolutely demolished by the Strike Force, like 11 or 12 teams.
So, wait, Vibrator.
What?
So by your predictions, the Strike Force wouldn't have actually been in the IFL.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's not the world we live in.
Maybe that's why coronavirus happened, to stop the Strike Force from winning the United Bowl.
Good job, Corona.
but all Corona did was end up giving Strike Force the 2020 championship.
Wait, fuck! It didn't work.
Yeah, idiot! It didn't work.
Damn it! Me and Sawyer have to come up with more shenanigans.
Wait, what?
You didn't like.
Well, I oh god, you didn't get what I was wanting to do with that joke.
Ah, fuck! I ruined the bit. No,
you ruined the joke.
No, I'm unfunny.
Well, there's one thing we should end on.
What?
This video was sponsored by Raid Shadow.
No, it's not.
Did he just leave the call?